Hello and welcome to Inchrist Fellowship Youth Production. Today's program promises to be very interesting, interactive, and above all insightful. I am Wanoro Chisom, and with me is...
Okay, I'm Kozechi Maduru, and today we are going to be discussing on the topic challenges of the 21st century youth. So last week we discussed about, we started from social media, we started from entertainment, so we are going to go into lost and home. We want to see how the 21st century youths are able to challenge this, and we want to bring up insight and expect that they bring out this message so someone is blessed. Thank you very much. And we are here today. We have Uncle Chibuna, we have Uncle Chinedu. Uncle Chibuna is here, Uncle Chinedu. Uncle, you're welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
What was the conclusion about social media?
I remember Uncle was telling us social media said we needed discipline in social media. Social media is very key.
Okay.
You know, because that we were like, do we need social media and stuff? But you know, there was something Uncle said. He said generation has their own peculiar challenges. Yeah. So maybe you might want to throw more light on that.
I think we realize that in God's arrangement of His kingdom, He had outlined a spectrum of time and not to have expression on the earth. The expression is that His program within that time to see which soul that expresses itself on earth. So in each generation they are tested by what they have learned. The battle that Israel fought when they got into the promised land, that He deliberately allowed some nations to hang around. That generations of Israelites that did not see the war as it was fought and conquer the promised land. Whenever they come, they will have nations to use in learning the art of war. So, for Israel, the mastery of the art of war is an option. Likewise, as Christians and people that God brings upon the earth, the contention of our loyalty either to God or to ourselves or to the enemy every soul has to be tried. So we do not see anything evil in its the social media. But the same principle of loyalty, which based on your allegiance to whoever, you are able to put yourself in a regimented format to fulfill your obligation, is the norm for holy people. So we have met this in our generation. Social media is here to prove who is loyal to them and who is not. So discipline is the underlying factor. Self-control, moderation, these are Christian virtues that must be brought out by the contending issues of our time. So non-negotiable.
My mom, most times when she's struggling with something, she'll just tell the things that this thing, you will not control me.
Like, don't allow the thing to be controlled, because these things have a way of controlling us. You know, you just want to check something on your WhatsApp and 2 hours is gone.
Yes.
It's just like that.
If we see the atmosphere design, the system is designed, the TV is designed to control. Even the social, of course, the research. They are even asking who among the segments influences humanity most. Is it the teacher? Is it the scientist? Is it the prophet? Is it the politician? At the end of the day, it's the scientist that determines the behavior of people more than the prophet. Was there the mobile phone culture?
No, there wasn't.
Before now, I know you guys came when the cars were everywhere. There was a bicycle culture when we were growing up. Okay? And today there's a car culture. And even by virtue of the cars, behavioral and etiquette, trends are evolving. Today we talk about email etiquette, internet etiquette, social media etiquette.
Right.
So it is the scientists that actually control the behavior of people more than people. So based on that, empirically proven, these are all designed to control. And I learned something early in life in my Christian quest, that the wise man controls things around him. The fool allows things around him to control. Then it's the same fact that every soul must prove their loyalty either to God or to things.
And just to add something to that, there's also, when we talk about control, it's so true, it's out there, that actually latch onto the mind and then cause us to alter our behavior to suit the people that they want. Even in the music songs, just to create that sort of a certain mindset. So it's the game is control. Okay, and as my brother rightly put it, who do you want to control you? Do you want the Lord to be in charge, or do you want the systems that are the tools that are around you to be in charge? Like we've all agreed, social media in itself is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. This is its time. Okay? And so the Christian must navigate it. Okay? And the Christian must be disciplined to navigate it and maintain his loyalty to God. That's basically it.
Based on this, what you just said now, how do we manage this control? Because Oshina said the science does the control of us Christians, but from the understanding we are getting today, the science is
greatest impact in our cultural behavior.
By
virtue of the inventions.
The way they want us to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we manage this as Christians?
Okay, as a brother shared earlier, I love the example about Israel in the promised land, as they're going to the promised land. The intention of the Lord was to teach Israel to war. Okay? The intention has not changed. As the Lord's intention has not changed. The fact that this is the period that we're in, and the intention of the Lord by allowing this social media thing to stay is that his people might learn to war. What is the war? The war is no longer taking a sword to go and fight. The war now is in your mind. That's the battlefield is your mind. Your soul is the battlefield. Okay. So who is going to control? Are you going to allow the Holy Spirit to control your mind and determine the decisions and the choices that you make, or are you going to allow you to drag you off, and then for 2 hours you're lost, and then you come to your senses 2 hours later? It is totally up to you. It's a question of discipline, okay, and then how much of divine content you also ensure that you're exposed to on a daily basis. It's a battle. That's what I'm trying to make. You contend for this. It's not given to you freely. You contend for this. You gain space. Just like in a physical battle, you gain territory. In this mind battle, you also gain territory internally. Okay? And then you allow the Holy Spirit to gain territory within you, and then to determine your choices and decisions that you make, so that you'll be able to allow Him to be in control, and then have mastery over the tools that are meant to be used, and not allow them to use you.
So it's us mastering it, because nobody's going to come and do it.
Nobody will do it.
Because we want to have the mindset that the Lord will just give you the praise.
It's not as simple as that. It's warfare.
Let's even take a very simplistic format. When you play any music, the purpose is to put yourself in the mood. Okay? When you go in and switch on music, anyone, is to put yourself in the mood.
Okay.
And a mood is a function of the state of your mind. So that is controlling your mind to be in a particular state. If you want your mind to be spiritually positioned, you play a spiritual music. If you want your mind to be emotionally, yes. If you want your mind to be, whatever state you want, if you want it to be vibrating in a physical, frequency, there's some music you play that even push your body to start responding. if you want to be in a contemplative, reflective mood, you hopefully know which music to play. So all these are to put the mind in a certain state of function, which is the control. This is the one now you are now doing. Now, where you have lost the breaks and controls around, and allow other people who are playing it around to now determine how you dance, then it's an unfortunate state. Okay, very, very unfortunate. When you switch on your TV, it is somebody's mind that's been projected to your own mind.
Just as we're doing now.
Exactly. Somebody's mind is being projected to your own, into your own mind. So you should swallow everything. That's why controlling yourself. That's why the Bible says, in your patience, possess your soul. If you don't, another person is going to take it. That's why he said that those who do not have control over their subconscious, another will control it for them. That's the rule of God. So as a Christian, the stability you have by your relationship with the is that you give him that liberty to control it. Okay? Because as men that are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. Man is never in control. Let nobody be deceived. It's either God is in control or Satan is in control. Whenever man is claiming to be in control, he cannot be in charge. It's simple. Satan will tell man you're in charge. He knows from where he is exactly. But if we now yield to God, at least we are rest assured that God is in charge. For it is Him that is at work in us, both to will and to do it. So at that stage, the soul is at rest.
So we are talking about control. I'm looking at lust, because at the Bible, at some point I was trying to get a true definition of what lust is, because in Proverbs 6:23, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thy heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulterous will hunt for the precious life. So because at some point, before I read this scripture, at some point someone will tell you that lust means looking at maybe either a man or a woman and lusting, and maybe thinking about actually playing the act with the person, or maybe looking at the various the various features of the person. But looking at this, it's talking about the beauty. Looking at, lusting at after the beauty. Because some of those things that you can admire someone, you can look at someone's face and say, okay, this person is fine, and they actually look out. So I'm struggling with the definition of lust, especially when it comes to the lust of the eyes.
Maybe I should come in there. There's a simple understanding which guided my early Christian life.
Okay.
And that understanding is that there's a difference between looking and seeing. Well, and let's say this in the context of lust now. Remember the Bible talks about the lust of the eye and the lust of the flesh. Okay? And even the pride of life.
Even Jesus said, seeing, they will see. They will not
perceive.
Exactly. So seeing, okay, is what's the word? It's just a natural function of the eye. Okay, so I'm seeing. When I look, I see. When my eyes are in front, if you like, I see. Okay, but looking is a more conscious act. Okay, so you can see something admirable accidentally. Okay, but when you now consciously turn your mind and attention to that particular object, then that's when you're now running the risk of lust, if you like. Okay? So if you see something that is admirable, it's not your fault. Your eyes are functioning well.
Okay.
But when you now turn your mind and your attention to maybe a lady who is in front of you, and then your thoughts are involved and your mind is involved and you're creating pictures in your head, that is a conscious act, and that is one that is capable of taking you there.
Okay.
That simple little definition is one that helped me to balance a little bit in as a young. Exactly, as a young Christian, it helped me a lot. So there's a consciousness about looking, because looking is where the seeing lies, not seeing. Seeing is accidental, the normal function of the eye. Just to make that small distinction.
Okay, because I thought admiring, if I look at this thing and admiring it, I might want to have a good look at it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's conscious.
Okay.
Conscious and that's it's an admiring.
Just from there.
Okay.
So you see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are passive, you see something.
Yes.
Then, by the time you are about to look, it is with an intention.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
You understand?
Okay.
There's now an intention. That's right. To achieve something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then what is that you want to achieve?
That's the issue.
You are held accountable.
Thank you.
God created you to see. With that kind of look, you are the one that have chosen to be.
There's accountability there. That's it.
Okay?
That's it.
I mean, that is I appreciate this dimension.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, regarding the act of the soul surviving the snares of this life. Loss is just an aspect.
Yeah, that's an aspect.
The loss for women is just an aspect of the numerous losses that are infested everywhere with that leg. Now, this man in his composition is designed to stand, but free.
To fall. Okay.
The choice, either to stand or to fall, resides within us. So that man will be held accountable for what he does. Every soul must give account of himself before God, what he has done in his body. I hear most preachers and churches talking about the sin you sin is not
really.
It's a sin that is used as sin.
Hey.
Win the argument. Develop the theology. Let it extend to the heavens. The basic rules of existence is that any soul that sinneth shall die. Okay? Yeah. And that the wages of sin is death. If it is not the sin, it is a sin that is in you that is in them, God should be held accountable. So that he mayest be just when he judges. Man must be presented in realities. Now, this is just the numerous challenges. And the area we realize that we are accountable for a righteous living. And it's not subjective. But it is us that will be judged based on the principles of God. Then the soul should sit down and say, what do I do to myself as to be free from this impending challenge? Yeah. Now, based on this, or focusing on the area of lust, if you have stepped back to examine your soul, most times it's always good to step back and evaluate who you are in the phase of the issues. You know, examine yourself very you will have discovered that when we look at that scripture, we will realize that it's addressed not just to the young men. Okay. Because in the old it was actually tilted towards the young men, but today it's a general phenomenon. And it's addressing the strange woman. Where is the strange woman? on the street or within us? That's a question we must ask.
Okay.
The reality is that, like we said earlier, your external temptation, the degree of external temptation is a function of your inner vulnerability. The strange woman is the vulnerable part of you.
I'm longing within.
That within that you are the inclination.
Okay, okay.
Within.
Okay.
Because if you are fortified with it, no matter the degree of challenge facing you are seeing, you can't even respond. But if you're vulnerable within, even when there is nothing, your soul goes searching for it.
That's right.
So the area that is being referred to in spiritual application is that side of what that is very vulnerable.
Okay.
Because the soul is feminine in nature.
Okay.
Okay? The spirit is masculine, the soul is feminine. When the soul lures the spirit, man, to range low in the lower regions of life, that is the challenge. And then that is saying that path is the path of death. And all the people that have gone that path ended in death. So it's not just about a woman, but it's simply the inclination of the soul on a path that is so low and subservient to the powers that be that could even end that person. So that is an aspect. Now let's even look at the sexuality surrounding the dimension of sexuality. Now, in terms of lust, animals and humans are different in terms of the display of our sexuality.
Okay.
And what's the difference? In that area is a call to be human, not to be beast. Because you see a goat, a he-goat. Once it's charged, mouse the mother. There is no air of reflection or contemplation, and they don't, because it doesn't exist in the area of Islam. Likewise, because we share part of that beastly nature, such responses are not evil in themselves, but the governance of those responses by the interior power of reason and the spirit is what distinguishes us from being first man, then spiritual. Because men who have governed themselves by the kingly power of reason have excelled, not submitting to that lower region. Much more of one who is controlled from above. That's right. It is not evil in itself to see a young woman and feel ignited. Okay. It shows you are alive. It shows that you are responsive. It shows that your biological system
is working.
Is functional.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, you can't be an animal, allowing that instinct to control you and then overrun you. If you look at the brain, there's an upper part of the brain, there's a lower part of it.
Okay.
Man, this is biology, this is anatomy now. Man is controlled by the upper part of the brain, which is the seat of reason. Animals don't have it, they are controlled by the lower part of the brain. But things enter first from the lower part of the brain before it ascends to the higher part. And that's why in a relationship, for instance, you might be in a relationship with somebody or a couple. Something happens. The animalistic side is responsive to emotions and feelings and all those things that we call the characteristics of living things.
Yeah.
So you remember?
Yeah.
We're very responsive. But then, the higher that comes from the lower side. In a relationship, somebody angers you, you start saying something, and when that incident must have traveled from the lower part to the higher part, you are now in a more contemplative and reflective mood, and you say, no, I didn't get it, right. And you can now apologize. Okay. So you see that transition or that journey is from listening to human. It's always there. And part of our quest is to see how we can manage it before it even causes damage. And scatter things only just to when that event must have risen to that higher consciousness. Why did I do this wrong? Likewise, animals. But now, let's even narrow it down to what we're discussing. You see something. Yes. And once that is raging through, allow you express yourself at a basic level. Like hunger, you are walking through Mr. Pigs, and what they are frying. What happens? That side of you is activated. But do you go and inside the kitchen and grab
That's animalistic.
Why don't you do it? Why? Because the kingly power of reason comes to bear, telling you, even though you are hungry, yet there's a law governing this that you cannot break.
There's a better way to get them.
There's a lawful way to get this.
That's right.
That's where that side of the rulership of man comes to. That's why the Bible says, he who can know rule his own spirit is like a city without walls. Right. And he that ruleth his own spirit is mightier than he that taketh the city. So that inner control, you tell yourself, no, I'm hungry, yes. Chicken Republic is messing me up. But no matter what, I can't go and take it. There are rules. So if you have money, you go to the bank, then follow that whole process and get it. But in the wild, if you look at natural wild, once somebody is hungry, he wants to eat somebody around. And unfortunately, somebody else might be waiting to eat him. And that is what exists there. No control, nothing. Now, you meet somebody and you are excited. Yes, it's love. But then what follows? You follow the person and start going on. No. It is here that you differently know the law, even though I cannot. Because, and those who have perfected this management of themselves have saved themselves the pain and penury that comes from sexual sins like fornication. Because lust is a ground onto a higher challenge. You have spent yourself and you have. And that's why when lust shows up, say, where are you going from? And you end knowing that there's no get past. That comes from monitoring what's going on. There's a biology to that which we cannot deny. Because we don't make a point by denying the because it's right. The authority, the governance of man, member, and we must bring under subjection. Paul said that when that's his ministry is not free that subjection. That after he must have ministered to now find himself the other way. Because it's easy to minister if you don't govern yourself, lost. And the more we govern ourselves, the king opposite and the path of that move, the more we add this own self day by day as the Lord provides us.
You know, you call me on TV, it was so bad in the bank, it was so, they just one clip after another clip, and I was wondering why are they doing we Christians that people are saying how much we should, guard ourselves, and once that red flag comes up, we just block it because there is no good pass. But when the thing is just, what do we do?
It all boils down to the control that we're talking about. It all boils down to that at the end of the day. There's a scripture in Psalm 1 that talks about what you see with your eyes. Okay? About controlling what you see with your eyes. Yeah. So there's a place for refusing to engage in that particular material. For example, your eye from something that you should not see. And even in the TV, if it's not in the bank, you cannot change it. You don't have the power to change it. But if you don't have the power to change it, there is a place for controlling what you look at. Refusing in your life is an entrance to the soul. There is a place for saying, no, I will not feed this mess into my soul. So there's a place for saying, no, you control it. If it's in your house, you switch it off. Or you change it. Say, no, I will not watch this.
Sometimes when you're changing from one station to another, it's like going from 5 to 5.
Exactly. So you go away from it. You make sure that you stay away from your spirituality, like that's your makeup. We keep sharing that. There are things when you desensitize yourself, okay, you open yourself to sin. Okay, for example, watching something, seeing something on TV may not necessarily even be a sin. You may watch something and it's not a sin. But what it does to you is that it strips you of your spiritual immunity, if you like. Okay, to use that word in quotes, it strips you of your spiritual immunity, vulnerable to sin, by continually exposing yourself to some of these things. So you may not have sinned, okay, but you are vulnerable. So when sin passes, just collect you and continue on its way. Continually or increasingly expose yourself to more spiritual content, spiritual material. Therein lies your safety. Okay? If you're reading your Bible, you're giving time to Bible, if you're giving time to worship, you're giving time to watching little spiritual programs, you're giving time to engaging, feeding yourself, feeding the spirit man, rather than feeding the I talked about. Therein lies your safety. Because when the obvious temptation comes, you're ready for it. You're able to say an emphatic no. You say no. And all your system is in agreement with that no. Not the one that you will say no. Like it was Balaam who refused, but still went and collected the things that he was lusting after from behind. So there's a place for vulnerable in the day that the attack of the enemy comes. From the things that the lustful thing that you see with your eyes and the lust of the flesh.
So something I want to ask again, based on this, what we view on television. It's just like a song. I used to have this friend in school. Each time I go to her place, she plays this, like say, when you are in your house, nothing is on. You just play. It's the same thing with what you see in your house. So even if maybe you just turned on your TV set and the thing is just in your face, you switched it and you've gone out, but the mental picture is there. How do we deal with it? Because even when TV is off, just inside the house, stuff like that keep coming up, So how do we?
It's the same exposure. In my journey, I got to the point where I realized that I don't even want to continually feeding my mind. We're talking about music with secular music. I realized that it does not edify.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I came to and this journey is very individual. The personal journey that we must all do by ourselves. Yeah. I came to the point where no. I said to myself, no. This is no longer edifying. So I'm now making a conscious choice that I will only feed these spiritual songs into my soul. Okay? So that the same thing you mentioned will happen. I will sit down on my own, and the spiritual song will well up in my spirit, rather than a secular song welling up in my spirit. So and these are the ways that you even become a more prayerful person. Because when a spiritual song wells up from the spirit man and you flow with it, you connect with the Lord, and it's easy for you to pray. And this is why sometimes we have dry spells in the wilderness experience. Because we've been feeding ourselves with secular things. And you break the connection. There's a connection that you break, and then you can't connect with the place of prayer anymore. And then you realize that you're in trouble, and you begin to flounder and begin to seek help. So it's about what you consciously continually expose yourself to. In music, if you choose spiritual music, and then begin to gradually fade away the secular. I'm not saying that you should not be ignorant of what is going on in the world, but I'm talking about what you feed your soul to. In your privacy, what are you listening to? There comes a time where you need to make a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
I came to that point by myself. If you look at my car, I have my music is spiritual music, as spiritual as I can make it, and even in my house, the same thing. Because I realized that that I don't want a secular song to well up in my spirit. When maybe I want to worship and P Square is playing in my mind or something.
Okay. First is, what is your soul longing after? In your meditation, in your solitude of mind, what are you longing after? And I would like to say here, be very careful what your soul is longing after. Why? Right. The reason is that whatever that is hungering the soul on its own will always go after it.
That's right. Go after it.
That's true.
So that side must be put in perspective. Now in combating it, you start first, not by enjoying Christian music. Let nobody deceive you. It comes first by discipline. You deliberate, knowing what you want to achieve with time. You discipline yourself. Not because our church people say or our religion say. All these things have no hold on the quest of the soul. You eliminate every external support system, which in the face of contention and fierce contest that the soul is facing with sin and death, they have no consequences. So you ask yourself, what do I want to go and die? But the reality is that this is sin that is labeled death. Your soul knows that this is death. Say yes, it's so dead, it's this. A voice say this is there, say yes, but I still want to test it.
You want to see how it is?
I want to see what it is. This is human.
Yeah.
And never take yourself for granted.
That's true.
Never take yourself. So the question to ask yourself, what do you want? Do you want to die? Please help me not to die. Because at this point, there's some argument and contest within the two factions in you must then come together. Like God told Rebecca that there are two nations
At war.
They're at war. Once you're able to say, okay, I have chosen life to go in this direction, that decision must be made.
That's right.
And it's based on that decision that actions follow, because say, my son, be diligent with your heart. So manage your heart with all diligence, because out of it comes all the issues of life. So once that decision is taken for a godly seeker, not a Christian churchgoer, those who are seeking to be like God, that decision must fundamentally be taken. This is not a born again factor. You can be born again and still your soul is ranging low. That's why I'm seeking all this lower things. And if you are taking that decision that you want to ascend into God, then you start by discipline. And over a long term discipline of what you don't want in your system, it becomes a duty that must be made daily, weekly, before it becomes a delight. So it's first discipline, then duty, before it's like, oh, I can enjoy it now. It doesn't come first by trying to enjoy it. It's not true, it's not realistic. Discipline yourself. Then over time, you make it as a duty. Actually, you say you have made it a duty to eliminate. And with time,
Becomes a delight. That's right.
that is right. The other side is that aspect you read that says for a warring woman holds a precious soul. I think that's what it said. Yeah, it hunts. Now, what does that mean? A harlot is not looking for sex. And this is one thing we must understand about. Some are looking for money. That is on the human framework. What they're looking for. But we may not understand the whole lesson if you make it a man-woman pictorial affair. We understand the lesson in the game. This is also applies to somebody who is acting porn.
Acting?
Yeah.
Porn.
Okay.
They are not interested in sex.
Yes.
If they are interested in sex, they will find somewhere and enjoy it. True. You understand?
Yeah.
Like many people who are doing it wherever, but to put it in the public square
Yes.
means that it's a different agenda.
That's true.
in this hour.
That's true.
What are they doing? They are hunting souls. They are apostles, they are evangelists.
That's what
They are
that's the word.
ministers of hell.
That's right.
And they are ministers of death. Because wherever sin reigns,
Death.
death
Yes.
reigns.
It's following closely.
They are hunting precious. That's why those who go on the path of our house, they end in hell. So they are hunting souls for hell.
That's right.
They are ordained, they are anointed to hunt precious souls. So when you go to the bank and they're displaying that your TV, they are not interested in sex, they are interested in your soul.
That's right. That's right.
Your soul is what is at stake. What they want to do is to make sure that their kingdom reigns within your soul.
That's right.
And you become a slave. So there's a higher picture. There's a big picture of what activities are going on a local level.
That's right.
And if you can see from that person, you can now know, oh, no, this girl is dressing like this. She may not know.
But she has made herself available.
That is what's going on. So it's not about the figure in the worship of Satan. Nakedness is part of it. That's why when you hear nudity, they try to make it fashion. Please don't be distracted.
Okay.
Actually seems like fashion.
They try to, the modern day wickedness in distortion is take the old death and poison and embellish it and label it dangerous drug. You know, with dangerous drug, you don't see it as poison.
Yes.
Now, what has happened over is that in your worship of sin, these are all streams of satanic arms of worship. Nakedness is central to it. In the worship of God, no flesh should be seen before them. These are the two ones. In the institution of the tabernacle and the priesthood, the clothing of the priest is with the intention that no flesh may appear before God. But in the worship of Satan, all flesh must appear. So naked, forget the modern trend. Go to villages, see where people are dancing their cultural dances. It is all tending towards nakedness.
Yes, that's true.
go to Zulu, go to any culture, their women dance bare and raise their legs. And anywhere in my village, it is one single thing that in the worship of Satan, nakedness is a trend, and sexuality is a major part of it, and sex and fornication is all mingled. Go to the Benues, the tea people. Nudity in sexual operation is given. I mean, if you walk in, somebody gives you his wife or a dollar. Okay, so in the worship of Satan, this is in every culture of the world. Nudity and nakedness is part of it. Now, what we're saying is that the ancient function of satanic worship has made its way through the modern time. Because the first thing that God, the awareness of God, brings to the consciousness of the mind is clothing. Adam and Eve fooled around and they found that they were what? Naked. So what Satan brings to man is naked. The what God brings to man is a covering. Covering our nakedness. Now look at the little girl that has just been born and she grows. Suddenly she starts fooling around. There's a divine covering that she loses. And once she loses that, we're not talking about, there's a path to virginity. The loss of virginity is about the loss of the divine covering. And then suddenly she starts speaking so loud, her eyes are open, and behavior changes, and so you could see that trend. But a young woman that's still a virgin has a measure of, you could see the air around her is still in the degree of naivety. So, ignore the physical dimension, look at the spiritual dimension. We're talking about nakedness and covering. So when Aaron led the people to expose them to Baal, the worship of the golden calf, Moses said, for Aaron has made the people naked to their end. So we need to understand that sin makes us naked. And while once we come to God, we are under a covering. So then, proceeding towards the origin of it is a worship. It is pornography. Is not an act of entertainment. It is a religious act. It's a worship. Now, in the ancient shrines, men go to the shrine, and part of their obligation to the god is to deposit their semen as a covenant.
Really?
You read history. That's that. Till tomorrow, when some women are involved in a level of diabolism, they are requested to bring the semen of the man. Okay? And vice versa. Okay? So, the men in their covenant. So, therefore, for that to happen, some people are brought, some women are brought to the shrine as shrine prostitutes. This is in ancient times called, the prostitution started from the shrine. Because when the men come, because in those days some men may not marry, and they are loyal to the god. So when they come to the temple, they use the shrine prostitutes. God warned Israel. The shrine prostitutes in Israel are called dogs. There are some men also who are there to service the women that come for that person. So they are called dogs. The one word for them is called dog. God said, let not the earning of a dog, that's in King James, the earning of a dog be brought into the temple of God for any offering. nor at the ending of a shrine. That's why he warned Israel that none of your daughters should be made a prostitute in the land, else the wickedness will be multiplied. So it is part of the worship of God. In the Greek temple, it's normal. In fact, in history, when Claudius was the emperor, remember, the Bible says that Paul met Priscilla and Aquila, for they had been discharged from Italy to come to Ephesus because the Claudius the emperor had instructed all Jews to leave. I don't know whether you're conscious of that administration. Now, but history says that what happened was that the priests of those temples of Zeus, temple of Eros, and all of them were there, and the Leo women, which believe most of the top men in the society, wanted a particular rich woman to sleep and cannot get across, or she wouldn't want. They will now use religion to bring her. That's Jupiter, the son of Zeus, who wants to meet with her. And she will be expected to sleep naked in the temple for 3 days. And then Jupiter will come. So it's been a normal practice, the priests organize it. Because after all, this religion, apart from what Satan has it, the priests who are men have their own dimension. So in one of the cases, this woman would not want this particular general in the army to have access to her. So he went to the priest. But there was a young, another woman, who was an African woman. And when you hear about this name history, I remember her. She was African woman, she went and arranged with the priest and got the priest of Judah. And arranged the woman to come. And then the general now, in the night, we wear dress like Judah. So, when the challenge, he opened his mouth and told the woman, "We are nothing because I got access to you." And the woman said in the temple of Jupiter. Then the woman now realized. And it was a fierce war that made Claudius now discharge foreigners. Okay, that's part of history. Now, what are we saying? We're saying that in the worship of Satan, wherever Satan is worshiped, nakedness and nudity and sexuality is a major and significant item in the assemblage of the instrument of worship. It must be practiced. The question is why? I want to worship because you're already worshiping God. But what you are doing is you want to bring other souls to participate in what you are doing. To become a disciple. That is what pornography is. They are making disciples of men to share. That's why in Romans 1, Paul was very careful in itemizing the area of pornography, the area of homosexuality, and ended by saying that the wrath of God is not only going to fall on them that do this, but also on them that have pleasure in them that do it. That's right. I don't know whether you get that. Yeah. So if you have pleasure in watching Jesus, then you are part of it, because that is the end. That's the end. That's what it is designed for. To engage people, because they won't sell if nobody is buying. That's right. So that is a challenge. And the Christian community, the godly community, because Christendom is different from godliness. The godly community who understands that a worship of another God is being marketed. Don't see it as entertainment. don't see that entertainment. There's nothing entertaining in it. It's simply the worship of the ancient God that reduces men to a piece of bread. Because if they don't make you a slave, you can't serve. So, and your strength comes from righteousness, because the power of the good people is in their holiness. And once a people comes up and they are led astray by their pursuit of inordinate affection and pleasure, they are sold. They are brought there. And one thing that sexual sin does, or sexual indulgences, one thing they do is to make sure that somebody's destiny is altered permanently. When Israel had 12 sons, the first is called Reuben. He was to be the one to stand in the place of leadership among his brethren. Why did he not stay in that position? The father told him, you are the prime of my strength. Yes. You shall not prevail because of sexual sin. As soon as David entered into that, his whole world changed because of the covenant of mercy. God swore to him, I will not withdraw my mercy from you. For God to keep his word is. So, as soon as he fooled around in sexual relations, started his own house. Ammon started, Absalom started, and the head of David was being requested on the charger, but he escaped with his life. That's right. This is one thing also I must tell you as young people. If there's any area to avoid complaining, it is this area. That's what the Bible did not. As for the devil, the scripture says, humble yourself under the powerful arm of the Lord, and he shall exalt you in due season. Then resist the devil. He shall free you. But as for fornication, the Bible didn't say resist. It said flee from it. Because of the consequences. The eternal consequence of death. But then there's a remedial provision in God. Not for those who deliberately banking on the remedial provision to walk. Those ones, they are tempting the Lord, they are God. Okay? But somebody split it. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord, thy God. But those who says, my little children, remember, I write unto you that you sin not. However, if you tumble, just know that in provision, Jesus is a propitiation to gather you back to Christ. That's for those who have a godly ambition of where they are going already. That's right.
Yeah, because I wanted to come to. I've heard so many stories of people that are Christian, that are born again, but they're still fighting this thing of pornography. They're still fighting this thing of, okay, let me bring up this story. I just wanted to bring up the story, and I believe it will help someone that is listening. I believe this is the first time I'm sharing this story in the public before, because from the age of 11, I stumbled over a magazine. All these magazines that have naked scenes and pornographic scenes. So from that day in my life, I started getting hooked up to anything that has to do with if I see any place where there are naked women or where I started, so that point it started from the magazine and it's graduated to I wanted to. I didn't realize that there was something like a video. I then started watching because at that point you don't get pornography on the road. You have to go to people that sell it at so I bought it and started watching it, and even at some point, should I say why I actually finally towards the end of about 5 years ago gave my life to Christ, as in finally the thing that has been hindering me has been this thing, because when I at some point gave my life to Christ and I realized that this thing is still within me, I tell myself, am I really, should I really,
First, your story is not exceptional.
Yeah.
It's different from many souls that are struggling for breath.
Yeah.
This is the serpentine culture that is designed to stifle life out of any animal or creature. You know how snakes
Coil around it.
coil around it,
Tighten it.
until that life
It's snuffed out.
This is from the altar of hell. That's why we're not mincing word about it. Every soul that have tasted of these bitter waters is meant to die. But that water shall be healed.
Amen.
You see that it's in Jesus' name what the enemy has planned. I was asking myself, why didn't Jesus come in the days of Noah? Why did he have to wait until 2000 years? He could have come to start the kingdom of Israel. He waited. He didn't come in the days of David and answered him through Solomon. He didn't come in the days of Solomon. He waited until Israel was reduced to nothing. He came not from the Roman side of the glory of God. He came from the downtrodden Jews, and in the days of his flesh, a Jew, under Roman control, and he never lifted a voice against that opposition, of which is part of, in terms of delivering his people from that oppression. You need to understand, because one of my brothers, my Biafran brothers, sometimes it gets to me, and I feel I have power to do something. You understand?
Yeah.
I said, shh. Jesus had the power to change the order of events, but he understood that a natural freedom could lead to a greater bondage. That the only true freedom is the one that your soul has given. Yeah. So he said in the transaction in life, be very careful so that you do not gain the whole world and do what? So your soul, the restoration of your soul to you is what he came to buy and pay for it and give it back to you. For the thief cometh but to steal, to kill, and destroy. But I have come that they might have life and have what? More. The restoration of the soul through us, and we might share in his likeness. Now, as for all these, that's why I said these are the snares that are pervading. Satan knew the susceptibility and vulnerability of the soul. He had dealt with soul from the foundation. He knows where to touch you. they start vibrating. He knows where to touch. And he will not be Satan if he does not touch you there constantly. Yes, what is the Satan? Every young man, every young woman that is coming up, you understand? Boy is perfect in costume in the public in our bedroom because we're boys. And nobody's guy Patrick was his name. Before our eyes, he said CCC that he has what do you call it? A pepper. We looked, we said, what is it? He opened it. We all saw it. You know, not that you have not been seen naked. I grew up in the city, in the city. In the village, when we pound palm oil, the women that are pounding, they remove their plate because the heat of the fire and the heat of the palm fruits and the heat of the mortar you are using. Most of them remove all their dresses, so you see their breasts. It doesn't make any meaning to you. There's anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Recently I was in Morocco, I was in Liberia, in one of the interior villages in Liberia, and when we got to here to minister, we saw women who had only cover for their down part and their breasts were open. It didn't make there is a covering of the body. So the challenge is not the physical thing.
Yes, that's true.
It is the spiritual awareness as well. And that is where Satan, that even if everything is covered, yet you are seeing that with your mind's eye. It's a portal that is open.
That's true. That's right. That's true.
And that's the area that should be closed. It's not even the physical world. That's the area that should be closed. So basically, Satan opens a portal to make us vulnerable, and so long as we are contending with that, we are at a low region in our spiritual quests. That at the end of the day, the potential we have to fulfill our mandate in God is totally abundant. A curse in this rightfully contest. Okay, people say, well, I place a curse on you, well, I remove the curse on you, they have no idea what curse is. God was the first person that caused that used that expression. It's a constant dial. Serpent was the one that was caught. He did that. And what are the consequences of the cause? He was reduced in his essence. So a cause is simply means to reduce somebody in essence. You are meant to be the king. You end up being the servant. There's a reduction in essence. If you are meant to be glorified, you end up dying at the level of peace. It is simply the cause. So what the enemy is doing, at the end of the day, our potential in God is grossly reduced by all this engagement. It is normal, given the stories that the trend and everything. My own personal experience also includes that from that day we took school, I had a cousin of mine who was a senior boy, and under his bed, all manner of photographs. I'm talking about 1982. Then we didn't have water in the school, in the dormitory. Some boys went over to the sacristan who is in the Reverend Father's house to go and fetch water. And the guy started using them and sleeping with them. That was the first time we had that the man can sleep with the man. Though my 1982, I don't know what the school looks like today. Now, at a young age, upon coming to pregnancy, such exposure is made, whether you want it or not. Jesus, knowing that this will be made, has already made it. That's why he sent messengers to you to tell you about the good news of salvation. That if you don't hearken to him, you will not know the depth of the danger. But he only provides you the solution. He told Moses, I'm coming this night to Egypt. He did not tell Moses that he's going to send evil angels.
That's right.
He said, I'm coming. Because I will pass over Egypt tonight. Do this and do this and do this. But that night, the Bible says he sent evil angels. Now, he knew what the situation is. So he tells us what to do. Put the blood upon the lintel and door. For when I see the blood, what will happen? He said, I will pass. But the messenger of death, the angel of death was the one that came to do the destruction and was passing over the blood.
That's right.
So it's only obeying God. We do not know the details. Only obeying God is what guarantees our salvation. That's right. So in the struggle of the modern day with pornography, back to where we began, that daily choice of your loyalty is being tested. And you must prove it. That war for every Israelite to fight over his soul and will is available. And you must fight alone. That's why when Paul finishes, he says, I have fought the fight. I have kept the faith. And he told Timothy, fight the good fight of faith. Lay hold on the eternal life. But in all fornication and this, avoid. He said, let thou, O man, they're not to fight. So basically the fight is that there's no press button approach to it. Knowledge is prime. The knowledge of what you are, the nature of the battle, the nature of the contest, and the fact that you must possess your soul. That's right. And he said, if at the end of the day I lose my soul for getting a kick or watching a naked woman, then I'm the most stupid person. The Bible said any man that is overtaken by the lure of a straight woman is a fool.
What about someone that has been on this for about 18 years?
Yeah.
In darkness?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you see the light. But you're still struggling.
This is the daily struggle is there.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
It is first discipline.
Yeah.
Then what? Duty. And finally it becomes what? It lasts.
So that means it's okay for someone to, at some point, maybe today you might, what you said that you don't want to do, today you might do it.
And tomorrow
you want to start the fight and you...
There is someone I know, like this story you were telling me, even though you didn't finish the story, about your secondary school experience.
Yeah.
Now, someone also had a similar experience in secondary school. And he said his was, a senior student called them and taught them how to masturbate.
Yeah.
Boys' school. And even though he was born again, and he was still born again in the house, he was born again, born again brother, everything, but he still continued with it.
Good.
Now, he struggled with it. It was a serious struggle. He tried just like, because he was sick. Try and, he just keep, what is the way forward?
We are still
Okay.
Is there a way to put a final
the struggle is there.
Okay.
That you're still struggling means that you are alive.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to add that.
But it's possible to win this.
What are we are winning. You don't back out from a battle you already won. Winning. That your still struggle is a sign that you are ready for war. That you are fighting the war.
That's right. That's right.
The struggle, a dead fish cannot offer any struggle to the current. That's totally crazy. It's only a living fish that swims against the current. It's a sign of vitality. Is the current pushing back? Yes. But is a fish giving up? No.
Exactly. And one other dimension to add to this was which I believe comes in the midst of that struggle. Okay, because that you're fighting is that you are alive. Okay, and you're moving on in your faith. Now, the other dimension that comes, maybe like I said a little bit later, is the value you place on your walk with God. Okay? At a certain point in your walk with God, the value that you place on your eternity and your relationship with God, and you're becoming like Him, must supersede the things that you see around you. It must. If you like, I call it the next stage. Okay, it must supersede what you're seeing around you. It must supersede whatever the eyes can see, whatever situation that you're in. It must supersede the walk that you're walking with Him. You see, you must come to a point where you look at who you are going to become. Look at eternity. You understand that this is all vanity. Okay? And all these things that we're even talking about, the majority of them are even vanity. The says vanity of vanity. All is vanity at the end of the day. You must come to that realization yourself and realize that what is not vanity are the things of eternal value and the things that are going to that are beyond even this life that we're living now. Because this life, 120 years, no matter who you are, it is over. Yeah. But there's forever and ever, even forever. Yeah. And that is the tenure of the soul of man, the soul that we all carry. That is the tenure, forever and ever, even forever. Yeah. Because it doesn't end. The life of the soul does not end. So we must come to a point where eternal value of our walk with God, eternal value of the change that must take place in us, and now begins to becomes a driver of our walk with God. When we come to that point, the battle becomes easier. It's a reverse, thank you, my brother. The battle reverses because you're not saying, oh no. Now this, see where I'm going. I know where I'm going, Lord, and I know that you're leading me to this place. So this thing cannot even have a hold on me anymore. It can no. I can't allow this to happen. It cannot. So your decision making is easier and sharper at that particular point when the clear value of your clear eternal value has been placed before you. Your soul for the transformation of your soul. For your soul for you become.
Like what you're saying, for me, how the Holy Spirit helped me. Let me use a real life. How the Holy Spirit helped me was that. First, He told me to cut on some entertainment. Cut off some entertainment. Because I realized that at some point, there are some movies I watched that have some explicit scenes, and after I watched that, my spirit man is weakened. Right. So he then told me that this thing I should cut it off. So at some point, I stopped watching movies. If I thought I'll need to watch a movie, I'll ask someone whether there's really anything inside to watch. And that thing is, anytime I become too busy within myself, anytime I become too busy and too carried away, and most times during my show, the devil will try to keep me in that busy state, of which at that point I'm restless, at that point and when you're trying to find rest and peace within yourself, he then brings in a suggestion to you that, see, you can use this to actually settle down. And so within that state, one key thing is to fight the thoughts that come within you. You fight the thoughts that come within you. When those thoughts come, you immediately rebuke it, and the Holy Spirit helps one. So it was a constant battle until finally, when I realized that my thoughts and the things I put in, the entertainment I get into my spirit man, and ensuring that I'm not too busy out of the things of God. I think that just solved everything. That just solved everything.
Now, taking the GR from what you just summarized, Satan knew that for the entertainment to be relevant to you, it needs to create a sore spot in your soul.
Yeah.
For most of all, it was more of control. Then you get your discipline. Then from discipline it becomes a duty. And from a duty it becomes a life. So, because if you look at the whole topic, it's all tied down to entertainment and to social media and our phones, and that's just you. So the meeting has been very insightful. It has been very, very educating, especially the history aspects and everything. We have come to the end of today's program. We hope you have been blessed.
Someone that is listening and then you feel that there's some things you're struggling in your life, or there's some things that you are actually, you cry. Sometimes you cry within yourself, or you're telling yourself that, can I actually get out of this? I feel there is hope for you. And if you have issues, and if you feel you want to talk to someone, if you feel you want a hand, you want someone that can help you out, please, we are going to put our number towards the end of the video. After that, just give us a call. You send us a message. We are going to respond to you, and the Lord is definitely going to be your help and support, and you're winning that battle.
Amen.